You already know how A Plague Tale ends, right? Hugo dies, but that's not what broke us. What broke us was realizing that the game had been telling us this ending was inevitable from the very beginning, and we just didn't notice it. This was never a power fantasy. Not for 1 second. And once you see that, the whole story hits differently. Go back to the start. The entire game kicks off with one instruction screamed at a 15-year-old girl in the middle of all that chaos. That is to protect your brother. That's it. That's the whole mission statement, and it never actually changes for 2 full games. Everything after that is just two kids trying to live up to that one sentence. People remember Amicia taking down that first armored guy with nothing but a sling. Cool moment, right? But notice what it actually is. A kid with a toy doing something no kid should have to do because there's no one else to do it. And people remember the final fight of Innocence and assume Hugo just wins it with his rat. He doesn't. It's both of them. His power, her sling, together. That's not a coincidence. That's the entire point of the story, being spelled out in gameplay. Neither of them survives this alone. Not once, not ever. Is the trust they both have on each other that makes them do the unthinkable. And Hugo's whole thing with the rats, the game had every opportunity to turn Hugo into that classic secretly overpowered child, but it doesn't because the macula is not a gift, not a power. It's a curse. Every time Hugo uses his powers, it takes something from him. It frightens him, it manipulates him, it's slowly consuming him. But despite all that, he still uses it anyway. Not because he's fearless, but because he's a scared little child, scared to lose the only family he has left. A 5-year-old understanding on some level that this is destroying him and still choosing the people he loves over himself anyways. That's not a hero arc. It was never something to admire, but it was always something to fear. This is the part that Requiem quietly reveals to us. And it's brutal. Once you clock it, this entire story, both the games, it was never actually building towards a cure. It just looked like it was. What it was really building towards is Amicia and her mother accepting there never was one. They weren't racing toward a solution. They were just delaying something that was always going to happen. So in the end, every clue, every destination, every single sacrifice, suddenly, instead of feeling like a way to the cure, felt like just a way to borrow more time. The story isn't really about finding a cure. It's about learning that hope by itself can't stop what's already coming. And that's why the ending hurts. Not because it's shocking, but because it's honest. Amicia spends 2 entire games sacrificing everything for Hugo. Her childhood, her innocence, her future. She spends years believing that protecting him means keeping him alive. Until the final moment that forces her to understand that protecting someone can also mean letting them go. Most games end with a victory. A Plague Tale ends with acceptance. And somehow that hurts even more. They almost had a normal life, a family, a future, but in the end, almost is never enough. So, no, this was never about how good the game looks. It's unforgettable because it tells the story of two children who only ever survive by refusing to face the world alone, right up until the one moment where staying together is exactly what makes saying goodbye impossible. That's why A Plague Tale stays with you. Not because it tries to make you cry, but because it never forces the emotion. It simply lets you live through it.